It's called Smut. Give me smut and nothing but a dirty novel I can't shut if it's uncut.
Well, because I follow this girl on TikTok, and she specializes in TikToks that are just deeply uncomfortable to watch. And she's been doing a series that's like that insufferable girl from that rom-com.
Oh my God, yes.
And she just does a lot of vocal fry with it. So I've been very conscious of mine, because she's like, this soup was my Nana's recipe.
Yes, you said this to me.
Yeah.
She's like, it's a really special soup.
This isn't just soup. This is a feeling.
I'm not like other girls. I make soup.
Yeah.
Or the one where it's like, oh, you're the pixie manic dream girl in the millennials. She's like, my name's Autumn Rain. And it's like, wow, that's a really common name, actually. My name is Cottonberry Muffin.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. There's a girl that does like competing manic pixie dream girls that are trying to like out manic each other.
And it has the Regina Spector song in the background. It's like, na, 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 na. What's that song?
The Regina.
Web of Dreams? No.
Da da da. Na. It's gonna.
Den of Thieves.
Is it Den of Thieves?
Yeah. We're living in a Den of Thieves.
There it is.
Rummaging for answers in the pages.
But you know what that was? That was that moment from The Office where he goes, break me off a piece of that baby car.
Yeah.
No
one help him. No one help him.
That was that moment.
Oh.
Yeah. Although I was a big fan of like Fidelity and all of the. I listened to quite a bit of Regina Spector back in the day.
You would.
Yeah.
What do I look like I listened to back in the day?
Bach.
Wait,
So sorry.
Only Bach.
You think? Wait, like the
Classical music.
You
that's
think
it.
I listened to classical music?
You were in high school like, yes, let me get me some Johann Sebastian
I don't know if I should be offended by that or like.
It means you're sophisticated looking.
That you're the only person.
Man,
Please tell
it's
my
probably
mom that.
just because you're such a reader. I'm like, yeah, reading, classical music.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's probably
You know
also,
who? Yeah.
No, but like also I would have if I didn't know you very well, I would still go, you had an emo phase.
Of course.
And that would be my guess.
Let's be honest. Is it a phase? It's a lifestyle.
It is a lifestyle.
Yeah, lots of Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yep.
I did listen to like the
303.
Pride and Prejudice soundtrack
303.
on repeat a lot.
Okay,
it's a great soundtrack,
well,
Which that's not classical, but it's in the style.
you listen to musical theater soundtracks?
That
Never.
too. That wasn't musical theater. Pride and Prejudice. No, the movie Pride, like the soundtrack,
like,
the
movie,
instrumental soundtrack.
okay.
Is there a musical for Pride and Prejudice?
No, but there is now. I'm gonna write it. You heard it here first.
I feel
What
like
if I
there has
did?
to be. Is there not?
There has to be like an unofficial.
There's got to be one.
Yeah, it might be like a Bridgerton situation where they didn't get the like consent of everybody, like
Yeah.
Jane
Right.
Austen. They didn't
Yeah.
call Jane Austen. And
Exactly.
say,
You know what
hey,
we
can
should
do a
make?
musical
The
about
Jane
your thing?
Austen estate was like, no.
We should make it's gonna be a jukebox musical of emo music, but it's telling the story of Pride and
Oh
Prejudice.
my god, it's a
Oh,
reimagined
wow.
Pride and Prejudice where
It's all
Darcy
of our
has
lives.
like the swoopy bangs.
Yes. No, not even the swoopy, just the frilled out hair where it's
That's
like
the
but
hair
not
he
over-
had in the movie.
oh shit, you're right.
Like it wouldn't be, and she had the bangs. It wouldn't be that much of a
Yeah.
leap. They just need to change their
That's
clothes.
true.
Yeah, you don't have to change the design at all. Just throw the songs in.
Get Keira Knightley on the phone. Tell her we have an amazing idea.
Kira, if you're listening, I know you're a big fan of this.
And I know you have a great singing voice, probably.
I bet she can carry a tune.
I don't know.
Wait, wasn't she in that one movie with the music with the Mark Ruffalo? And the guy
The Mark
That
Ruffalo.
one, wasn't she in that one movie with the
guy-
music and the Mark Ruffalo?
Yes.
yes, the Maroon 5 Adam Levine was
Yes.
he was the
Yes, it's killing me.
I don't
though.
even need to keep going because she understands.
It was a very Manic Pixie Dream Girl type
Yes.
role, though, and I can see the trailer in my head
Yeah,
right now.
me too.
Begin again. Begin again.
I was gonna say sing again, begin again.
Yeah, begin again. It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is
a fun one.
That's a good one. Hey, speaking of fun things, welcome to Femmes Reading Filth. I'm
Nice. Nailed
Jess.
it.
I'm Jess.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Will. I thought maybe Jess was going to go
No,
again.
I said it twice. The
Yeah.
people know.
I'm Emily, just so in case you wanted to hear it again.
Third time's a rule.
Yeah. It's a Revan.
and I'm Jess.
It's gonna be a weird one today.
I'm so tired. So
Green light.
Yeah. Well, we're doing something a little bit differently today,
Yeah.
which I think is worth pointing out.
love
We've never gotten this kind of prompt
I
before.
threw y'all a curveball.
Yeah.
A little bit.
And we smacked it out of the fucking park.
What was your inspiration behind doing this song, but also just how did you come up with this idea?
And I should say, if you didn't say before, we are doing Green Light by Lorde as our topic for this week.
Yes.
So I was getting ready, preparing for my day before we recorded the last episode, and in showering, had my music on, and one of the songs in my playlist that will come up on is Green Light by Lorde. I think it gets me pumped up. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm ready to start my day.
Specific playlist that you have, or is
it's my sunny day playlist.
Got
It
it.
just
Cute.
comes up, and I'm like, it's like ooh, it's got the kind of party energy to it that I really enjoy. But I was listening to it and listening to the lyrics, because I also we've talked about this on the show before. I'm a sucker for a good kind of rom-com kind of romance, absolutely, and that's kind of built into that type of song. She's very much that genre of pop, and in listening to the lyrics of that song, I think specifically the you say you she thinks you love the beach, you're such a damn liar, and then did it frighten you how we kissed on the light up floor? Both of those really struck me as such narrative things that I think I very much was this has such a feel of a type of relationship to it that I think is very accessible. I think everybody kind of knows that relationship feel, and I was because oftentimes when I listen to music, I also just kind of subconsciously in my head, I start going, oh, what if I was making the pop soundtrack of this movie, what music would I put to it?
Or what would the music video be for
exactly,
this? Yep.
all of that kind of things. And so I was listening to that song, I was already in that kind of headspace getting ready for the podcast as I was thinking about oh yeah, this is coming up. And I was like, oh, I wonder what would happen if I threw them that kind of challenge. I was like, what kind of what if they had this is the song that would be the hit on the soundtrack, what stories would you bring to me for it? And so that was where I came up with it.
I thought that was a really cool idea. And we had, because I saw you two last night, and Jess and I were on the way, and we were kind of talking about this, and I was like, I wonder why Green Light specifically, because when I hear certain songs, I would be like, this would be a book to movie thing, but that wasn't one for me. But I also think of that song as I'm gonna go out with my girlfriends, So it was. I was really intrigued, and not in a bad way. It was
I love that kind of dichotomy that it has, where the energy is very much yes, let's go out, let's party, let's club.
But the lyrics themselves,
they're very sad.
Yeah,
it's very much an unrequited love kind of business going on a little bit.
Yeah.
There's room for interpretation though, which is where I thought we would get some interesting.
We'll get into it.
Choices.
Yeah, I definitely wrote, because I wrote down a couple thoughts of just my interpretation of it, and also my thoughts about why you might have picked this song. But the first line of my notes is, Will is a messy bitch who loves drama.
I mean, just
we're
read
not
me for,
saying no.
This isn't Fim's reading filth. This is Fim's reading for filth.
Reading for Phil. And yeah, I mean, and this, that's why I do love this song. And I have very vivid memories, because this song came out in what? Did you look it up?
It was 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
So I have very vivid, angsty memories.
I have a very specific memory with you in this song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is it?
So this came out, it came out in 2017, 2016. Yeah. So I had just gone through a breakup.
Oh, yeah.
And I was in a rough place, and it just didn't go well. And I was texting you and season 1 guest Sean and friend of the pod Taylor Walter Chapman. And I was like, I need something. We need to I need to get out of this. And we started making a playlist called Let's Do It. And I still have it. And it's almost all female singer-songwriters, and almost all about getting over an ex or doing something. So
it's a lot of fuck you, I'm moving on songs.
So this was one of the first songs that was put on it, and I now associate it with this group of close girlfriends that I have.
Yeah.
So that also went into how I picked what I did for today's episode.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, because it definitely, I have a lot of memories of kind of getting in my head and walking down the street and just, it's one of those songs that, like, it's not surprising to me that you also had those moments when you were listening to it of kind of getting lost in it. And, like, it does sweep you up. And it's one of those songs that it's like 4 minutes long, but it feels like it's 30 seconds.
Yeah. And it was played a lot that summer, the summer of 2017. It was like one of the radio hits, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what were your main takeaways? Like, what, when you listened to it, because I assume I listened to it like 3 or 4 times before I started looking for stuff. What were the things that you pulled out specifically that you wanted to like infuse in your story?
First of all, just to like do the stats, Green Light by Lorde was released in 2017 on the album Melodrama.
Oh yeah.
Just so everyone knows.
Amazing album.
Thoughts and Vibes. I was listening to it and then I looked up the lyrics to read them just to make sure I wasn't like hearing anything wrong. Yeah. And then I also looked into someone dissecting the lyrics. And a lot of like my thoughts went with theirs.
I went on rapgenius.com.
Yeah. So some of this was like written out, but it was like what I was so I stole it. Because I also
Absolutely
agree.
fair.
So the song is about getting over a breakup and wanting to move on. You're waiting for the green light, which is the symbol to move on.
And if I can just say, listener, if you somehow have never heard this song, pause us.
Yeah, go listen to it. Yeah.
And then come back to us.
Not that it's a spoiler alert.
It's worth it because it's a really good song, but also, be on this journey with us.
We did just listen to it right before we started recording, so we could dance to it as well. So we encourage that. So it's about waiting for the green light, wanting to move on. You said before the beach, you're such a damn liar, and things like that. It's clear that this guy is not either a great person, he's either a bad ex or just a bad person in general that she's like wanting to move on from. And then I said maybe like the green light is just you're waiting for a new guy or like some sort of symbol or some action that will get you to move on. And it's not always just one thing. It's like there are multiple things that, you know, there's one big instance or action that wants you to start moving on, but mentally you're still there and things will keep bringing you back and you're still waiting for something else to kind of like give you the go ahead. So that's kind of like the overarching thing that I was thinking about. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all very accurate for sure. I mean, I can't. That's one of those like I can't really like. I don't want to speak to like, oh, what are my thoughts on your thoughts of this song? I'm like, yeah, that's how you felt about when you listen. It's art, and when you listen to it and when you read the lyrics, that is what spoke to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. That's part of what I wanted from this was like a little bit of subjectivity.
Yeah, because I definitely, I think for me, I always read into it that I always think that, okay, these two were friends or something.
Right, there's a history.
Because there's like we order different drinks at the same bar, so it's like that feeling of when you've broken up with someone, but you're at your regular place, you're still gonna see them, and you have to deal with that, and like there was another lyric or something that so when I listen to this song, I'm also kind of halfway rooting for like maybe they'll get back together.
Yeah.
Maybe that's okay.
Until halfway through the song, I'm kind of like that as well.
Yeah.
Because did it frighten you how we kissed on the light up floor? It's like, oh, they were broken up, but then they
Maybe
made out while they were dancing.
And like thinking in trope wise, immediately I was like, second chance romance. Here we go. And then you keep listening to it. Sorry to like interrupt your thoughts, but like you keep listening to it and it becomes more of a like, I'm going to get my things and go. And like, she's ready to go in my head. And then this is what also kind of made it hard for me at one point to find a book, because I think that second half of the song is very much like, here we fucking go. Like, I just need my girls. I'm going to go on my own. I don't need anyone kind of thing. And I was like, well, can't find a romance novel about wanting to be on your own. Like,
well, but I didn't interpret it that way. I was more like either the green light is we're done with this relationship or this green light is we're going to get back together. But either way, it's a direction of some kind. Like for me, the song is about that weird middle space where you're like, we're still friends and we're still seeing each other, but we're broken up, but we don't really know what to do. And there's still a chance for reconnection, but you're also remembering that, or like he's going on a first date and you're like, oh, she thinks you love the beach and I know that you're gonna tell her this story, but I know better. Like it's all of that angst.
I know you better than she does. Why are we not together?
And that's how I saw Green Light a little bit too, of that angst of her kind of knowing that and being like, well, I kind of want to still do those things, but
I like this though, because we kind of have different vibes for what we're thinking.
I went heavy into the like friendship angst. That is
and
what
I went heavy into the like moving on from a bad ex.
Ooh. Well, I have that too. I have elements of that too.
love
But
it.
yeah.
I guess mine has some friendship. We'll get into it.
Okay.
Yes. See, but this is so exciting. This is why I was like, it's the same vibes, right? Different stories, same vibes. Because
different drinks at the same bar, really.
Different drinks at the same bar.
I just do think, now that you've said that though, I really do think that my personal experience with the song has colored my opinions of it, but
Sure.
I will steadfast stick to it, you know?
No, of
I
course.
think
That's
you should.
the beautiful thing about
hearing
the beautiful thing about a good song is
Yeah.
that people can listen to it and have different emotional reactions and interpretations.
Yeah.
And that is good. Like, that doesn't mean it's bad or wrong. But let's do it.
Did you have any ideas of like a song you would pick for this? Because I was saying I don't have a specific song in mind. When I talked to Jessica last night about like if I was in your shoes and I gave us a song, I was like, I wouldn't have gone Greenlight, but I know the vibe. I probably would have gone with something like a rock or like a very heavy metal thing. Honestly, the first thing that came to mind was Closer from 9 Inch Nails about having just crazy sex, and I was like, I would love to see what book you guys pick from that.
Oh, it would be dark and it would be great.
It would be wonderful.
Don't put the cart in front of the horse. Like, don't get it twisted. I was listening to Greenlight and was like, this could be a fun prompt.
Yeah.
This wasn't
Yeah.
like, I need a prompt for them. What's the best
No,
song
that's
I
fair.
can mine great smut out of? And
Yeah.
I gotta mine some smut from this song.
Get
but,
that pickaxe,
I
baby.
mean, I think we still will.
I'm trying to think
Hondo
of something. It would probably, knowing me, it would probably be very angsty. It would probably be very female rate. Honestly, maybe Howl by Florence and the Machine.
Oh yeah.
Because you can go either like supernatural with it, or it can just be like kind of an obsessive romance thing. Like that's one of my favorite songs because it can have like a lot of things, and probably anything by Florence and the Machine would be what I would pick. But I don't know which one because there's so many that I love.
I feel like I would end up going a lot sadder if I was going
Yeah.
like in the reverse, and I was like, okay, I need a good like romance song that's gonna be invoke feelings for this prompt. Just because I feel like most of the time when I turn to music for that kind of vibe, it's because I'm in a like sadder place. I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to feel emotions about this, and this song is gonna get me there. Whereas like if I'm like, oh, this relationship's going great, I'm not like looking for music that's affirming that. You know,
I mean,
like,
there's always Liability by Lorde,
which
again, another juicy one to dig
a great
into.
one.
Yeah.
I mean, when you talk about my top 2 Lorde songs, it's it's her 2 biggest radio hits. Wild how that happened. I do want to say a part of a nugget of where this idea came from was when I was in 6th grade. Our English teacher at the time, they had just announced the Twilight movie.
Oh, yeah.
And, everybody was reading Twilight. It was,
Oh, yeah, big deal.
It was the hit.
Yes.
And so she was like, hey, everybody send me like a song or two of like, if you were to make a Twilight, like our pop like playlist for the Twilight movie, like if we were gonna make the soundtrack, send me the songs that you think. And like ever since then, like I often will think about music that way. But that reminded me just because I had hero/heroine.
I was gonna say, did you pick
Yeah.
a song?
Or that's Boys Like Girls, not Motion
That's
City
not Motion
soundtrack.
City,
I had
but
a
still.
different motions. What
Was it When You're Around?
Yeah.
Because
I'm
When You're
never-
Around was like really big at that time. Well, you
I
probably didn't
did.
pick a...
The one that makes me cry is Hold Me Down. Now you gotta.
I know, I
now you
gotta go
let
back
it-
and listen to it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to figure it out. I'll let you know. I'll let you know if I remember.
please,
Yeah.
because I really want to know. So, do you want to get into your
Yeah, let's
story?
do it. Let's
do
start.
it.
Okay.
Or should we just make this a music podcast?
It's not gonna go well
We're
for
changing.
me.
We're completely changing.
Mine's
tacks,
gonna be.
everybody.
It's gonna be the most niche music podcast. If that's it would be like, have you seen this one movie in
It's
this one
genuinely
soundtrack?
just going to be all of us going, hold on, let me look it up because I don't remember what it's
Yes.
called or who it's by, but it's that one song.
Yes.
Oh, it goes.
Oh, yeah, that one, yeah.
Okay, so I did Off Limits by J.A. Lowe, or J-Lo, if you will.
Got it.
Which I did read in my free time during season 1. And I remember saying in the what are you reading? I said
That
this.
was, okay, it was,
because we kept saying J-Lo.
yep, that was
So-
ringing bells and it was bothering me. So,
So
thank
if you
for saying
remember that from season 1, that's what that was. And it's a dual POV. I forgot to write down any of the stats, so maybe I'll come back, or
That's fine.
I don't give a shit. And I picked this. I'm just gonna say I picked this because when I was, as I said when I was talking about what I thought of with the song, It's about like moving on and trying to find your green light and trying to get something to like to keep going forward, or even in certain parts, even if you think you found your green light, it's like you still need the okay to go ahead. So it's kind of like there's a lot of instances in this book where that happens a lot. And so let's dig in. Okay. It is the night before Chloe's wedding. She is a sports PR marketing agent, and she is getting married. What?
That's a very complicated job title.
Yes, and she's getting married to Walker, who is an NFL player. That's how they met.
Okay.
She does marketing for the team.
Oh, so he's like her client?
Yeah, the LA Footballers is what the team he's on. She's with her best friends, Emma. There's a bunch of names, but
okay.
I will. Yeah. Emma, Stella, Ariana, and Tracy. Chloe is the main gal. So this is it's the night before they're ready together. They're all like, doing their hair, and they're like having a little sleepover. And Emma, Stella, and Ariana are her friends from college and after.
Are there subsequent books about them?
Yes, there are.
Thought so.
And I have read almost all of them.
But Tracy's not from college?
Tracy is from high school.
Oh.
And Tracy is like 8 months pregnant, and Chloe's parents like died.
I guess.
Messy bitch.
I
She loves
know
drama.
anything about Tracy's
Just
life.
looking for the drama.
Pregnant.
Don't worry, we'll read you later.
She had sex.
So Chloe's parents passed away when she was in high school. Her brother, who is older, was off at college. Tracy and her mom took Chloe in. So they are like very close high school friends. Tracy right now is like 8 or 9 months pregnant, and she is living in the guest house of Walker and Chloe's because the guy who wait for it, the guy who got her pregnant left her.
Girl.
I love having you on this podcast.
I have a blast being here.
So it's that night Walker comes in. He's just saying goodnight to his future wife. He'll see her tomorrow. He's very much in love with her. And everyone's like, aw, and then everyone goes to bed. Chloe wakes up. It's after midnight. And she's like, well, now, I don't have to, it's the next day. So I can see him. And I think I'm just going to go get a quickie, like, why not?
No, you can't see him now because it's the same day.
The night before is what
it's
quotation marks.
She's jinxing herself.
Yes.
Thirsty.
So wanting a quickie, she sneaks. They're in this they're in a hotel. She sneaks to his suite, and she hears sounds.
Oh no!
And she walks in, and she's kind of hidden behind a corner, and she sees Walker and Tracy.
I knew it was gonna be Tracy.
Tracy having sex.
Tracy, you're pregnant, girl.
She's shocked, and then they're dirty talking to each other, and she hears Tracy saying that she can't wait for him to meet his son.
No!
The baby is Walker's.
Walker and Tracy!
Oh.
It starts out at 100, you guys.
But why is he getting married then?
That's
to another
some Tracy
woman?
Walker danger.
Because he still loves Chloe. Chloe is still marriage material, as he will say later on, and he doesn't want a scandal.
Oh my God.
So...
All right.
Chloe, shocked.
What? Sorry.
He's all about image. He's
like, I've got.
He doesn't want to lose his
kid
endorsements.
on the way with
He's
this.
trying to have his cake and eat it too.
Correct.
Okay.
So Chloe is shocked. She doesn't even understand how she makes it back to her room, but she kind of does. She's kind of in the hallway in the area. She collapses.
Right.
Her brother EJ. Elliot, but they call him EJ.
Thank you.
Finds her, and he and all the girls they jump into action. She is like catatonic, but she basically is like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And they're like, here we go. And if you've ever seen like Sex and the City, the movie, when that spoiler, when that happens in Sex and the City, the movie,
when Big leaves Carrie at the altar.
Yeah, and all the girls are like, here we go, and they pack her shit and they go like.
Yep.
It's that moment, which I truly love.
I do too.
Rallying the troops, absolutely.
Exactly. They go to, they pack up all her stuff. They go to her house and pack up her stuff. They all live in New York. She lives in LA. And EJ, who by the way is a famous, he's like a Bobby Flay. He's like a famous chef.
Got it. Okay.
Has a private jet. So they put all the shit on the private jet, and she's like, they're like, where do you want to go? And she's like, New York, just take me to New York. And once they're up in the air, that's when she finally tells them what she has seen and what has happened. And
wow. So they just see that she's done, and they're like, cool.
She's like, I gotta get out of this wedding.
Which
like,
I kind of love.
Yeah, I kind of love that. I love that as friends.
I would hope that I would be that person, or my friends would be that for me, which I think you guys would.
We would.
Will you too?
We would go full scorched earth at the drop of a hat as soon as we need to.
We're real fucking hardcore. And so that's when she tells them all what happens. They're all like, let's kill this guy. And one of them is like used to be a model. One of them is an architect. Like they all have these kind of high jobs. And she realizes that in her many years of being a sports and PR marketing person, when all that was happening, she hit her voice recording memo on her phone. And so she has a whole recording of what Tracy said to Walker.
Oh, she recorded it.
She recorded it while she was in shock.
Their dirty talk.
She's just like full zombie mode, like can't process what's happening. I'm like, I know I need to record this.
I need receipts.
To which I was just like, eye roll, but also kind of love it.
Yeah.
And so she managed to get the recording, and Emma is like, let's ruin this guy. She sends it to the media so Chloe doesn't end up looking like the bad guy for leaving him at the altar, because that's how they're going to spin it. So that's the prologue.
How famous is he of a footballer?
He's an Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so big enough that they would actually care.
That's a name I know.
Cheated on his fiance. And
yes, he has the endorsement deal. Who's the one before that? Brian Urlacher or whatever.
I know
from the 90s.
I don't even know Aaron Rodgers.
Okay,
so that was the prologue.
That's a prologue.
Incredible.
So Noah. It is a dual POV, remember. Yeah. Noah is his twin Logan and his friend Anderson, the three of them. They own the Stone Group, which is a luxury resort group. They own luxury hotels around the world. They're scouting out a new location. They're at the pool, and they're trying to keep a low profile because they're all kind of like rich playboys of New York.
Right.
Like they'd be a page 6 people. So they're at the pool, and they see the most beautiful group of women, and it's Stella, Chloe, Emma, and Ariana. And they're all kind of like having fun, and Chloe's on her phone. She's trying to see like what's happening. She starts falling down these stairs. Noah gets up and saves her at the last moment, but Chloe's like, ugh, men. And then he's like, all right, sorry, walks away. Later that night out at dinner, the waitress spills a whole bottle of red wine on him.
Oh my God.
And he's like, listen, because he saw someone push her, it's fine. He gets up, he's heading back to his room to change. So he's walking down like to the cabana. He takes off his shirt. Cute. And he runs into Chloe again. And she's a bit rude. He kind of like flirts a little bit, and
do
she's
we know
like,
how soon after the
within a week?
Okay,
yeah, it's like this is supposed to be her honeymoon.
So got it. Their trip to New York is this trip they're on now.
They went to New York first, then they went to they dropped her shit off in New York, and then they went to this luxury resort hotel in like an island. We don't know exactly.
Okay,
it's like Hawaii or something. I don't know.
Got it. I am on the same page. I was picturing New York.
Yeah,
like
sorry.
hotel.
They're like at a pool. They're like in a
tropical place
area.
Okay.
Unknown tropical area.
On the same page.
So
I'm gonna say it's the Maldives.
Great.
So they're in the Maldives, and he takes. She's a bit rude to him again, and he's like, "All right, sorry, bye." And then she runs after him and is like, "I'm so sorry. I'm not usually a bitch." She's confused that he's keeps flirting with her because she's a mess, and she ends up spilling the whole story about her leaving her ex, and he says that the ex is super dumb and that she's super hot. Basically, they say it better than this. Chloe,
you're super hot.
Man, your ex is real dumb because you're like hot as hell. Like I
wouldn't cheat on you.
And she just blushes head to toe,
and she immediately leans in and kisses him. He's very surprised, but he's a gentleman. He backs away, and he's like, "Listen, I don't want to take advantage of you in this state, but how about we hang out tonight? Invite your friends to dine with my friends tonight. We'll get a room. We'll get a table, a private room area.
Yeah.
And if this is something you still want after we get to know each other, I would love to be your hookup. I
love a responsible.
I do too.
Yeah, I love that.
So
especially, I mean, not to interrupt, but like I feel like so often there's like those rebound stories where it's like, you don't want this right now. It's like, okay, you don't get to decide that for them. They might want a rebound. They might be looking for something quick, down and dirty. Like
he's like 35 and she's like 30. Like, so I feel like they're just very
adult.
They're very adult mature about this, which I really like. she goes back, tells all her friends what just happened, that they're all going to go to dinner. Meanwhile, Walker is texting Chloe, being like, I will destroy you and I will bash you in the press. And her friends are like, fuck this, put this down, let's go see these hot guys. So they go to dinner, they all have a wonderful time. Chloe and Noah end up walking at like on the beach afterwards. Cute. And they're going to like get down and dirty, but they were talking the whole time and they fell asleep on the beach in each other's arms.
Been there.
That's cute.
But yeah, I've fallen asleep in so many beaches. The next day.
In so many beaches.
I don't want to talk about
Inside of them. Inside the beach.
These beaches, they can't get enough.
It's amazing that I'm here is what I'm trying to say.
Emily pulls beaches.
It's like that. It's from Manacled
pull
where
beaches.
Draco Malfoy puts people in the ground and then covers them.
Yeah.
That's happened to you multiple times.
It's
with your lovers.
Listen, I don't discuss my kinks outside of my lover situation. I pull beaches. The next day, Noah goes back to the boys because they're all kind of sharing like a whole cabana area.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you did it. And he's like, no, like she just got over a thing and whatever. And Noah kind of says like, it's nothing. It's just a passing fling that's about to happen. Mm-hmm. And as he says that, he looks behind him because they were somehow, I think they were meeting up again. Yeah. Chloe has heard everything.
Oh, no.
She overheard everything and it kind of just runs away. And she's just like, what, it's fine.
Run away.
Yeah, she's like, it's fine, whatever. Like, it's fine. Mm-hmm. And that's the end of that. 3 months later.
Ooh, that's a spicy time jump.
Okay.
Chloe walks in to a job interview.
In New York?
In New York at the Stone Group.
Interesting.
Ooh.
Didn't realize that they were the owners. And she doesn't realize it's Logan and Noah's company.
Did you read this for the workplace romance one in the first season?
I did not.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Please continue.
I think I read it in tandem, but I didn't read it for this.
Okay.
Noah and her, she has like a good interview. Basically, she's interviewing for like the head of marketing, which I totally identify with. And Noah and her grab coffee after the interview, and he's just like, "Listen, you're really perfect for this role. I can be professional. I want to be your friend. Mm-hmm. Is this okay with you?" And she's like, "Yeah, if you can do it, I can do it, and I think we can do this."
Yeah.
And so they're like, "Great." 3 months later.
We months ago didn't hook up on vacation. I think
Right.
we'll
They
be all
learned.
right.
We'll be all right.
Yeah. So 3 months after
is
that.
Is he her boss then?
Yes.
Okay.
So the girls, minus Ariana because of work, plus, okay, so sorry, let me go back for 1 second. When she was interviewing for the Stone Group, Lena, Lenna, doesn't matter.
Lena?
We're going to go Lena.
Yeah.
Was the head of HR who helped conduct the interview.
Okay.
They have now become good friends, and she has kind of been inducted into the girl group. So now in this group of girls, which is, again, Stella, Emma, Ariana, Lena. Wow, a lot of us.
Yeah.
And Chloe.
Right. And then and no more Tracy.
No more Tracy.
No.
So they're all hanging out. They go to Vegas for EJ's new restaurant opening.
Oh.
Because, again, he's like a Bobby Flay type thing.
Yeah.
They go. They're like, let's get fucked up. Noah and the boys are also friends with EJ. They don't understand that they're related. Also go to Vegas for the opening.
Small world.
Small fucking world. They arrive late. They go straight to the opening where they're surprised to see the girls, half of them very drunk, including Lena, who Logan is like, I will help her to the bar. And they're like, something weird's going on there. They're having a good time. Chloe and Noah are kind of talking, but they're kind of mingling with other people. Then Chloe escapes upstairs to like the mezzanine just for like a moment alone. And she is cornered by Walker. The famous ex-football player has shown up and
At her own brother's restaurant?
her own brother's restaurant. She tries to walk away. He grabs her by kind of like the neck, like the shoulder neck area, and is saying like she's not having it. He grabs her wrist really hard, saying he's never going to let her go, that they're meant to be together. And she's starting to like really freak out. Mm-hmm. And Noah comes out of nowhere flying past, like tackles this guy to the ground, starts kicking his ass. And that's when the fucking security finally show up and they kick him out.
Yeah.
And Walker gets kicked out. Noah takes Chloe to his suite because he's like, are you okay? Like, let's get out of here for a second. And they kind of just have a moment to like together. Noah's like really upset because he couldn't have gotten there sooner. There were so many people over there. He says he's so sorry.
Does Noah have like a bust lip? Is there like a...
I think he's like his knuckles are
there's
bruised.
a little bit of like wounded soldier happening. Mm-hmm. Okay, good.
Well, and she like sits on the counter in the suite, and he's kind of like looking over her and being like, "Are you okay?" tending.
Got it. Yeah,
and
yeah.
she leans in and just kisses him because she just can't help it. And they're both like, wait a minute, this is a mistake. Like, just the one kiss. Like, that's all we're going to do.
Right.
And so they kind of like kiss again. And it's like their bodies molded together. And then she pushed him away. I didn't even name it.
It wasn't a full scene.
It rocks both of their worlds, but they agree to stay friends and colleagues. They end up staying in the suite and ordering food and chatting, and they kind of just talk more. They get to know each other more.
Everyone knows once you make out with your coworker, the way to de-escalate is to then hang out all night.
Yep.
Talking and eating food.
And eating food.
He
by a bed, I assume.
She talks about how he's always dating supermodels or is always seen with supermodels on his arm. He doesn't really date, quote unquote, because of his parents. He's too worried about gold diggers. We find out that his mom passed away from cancer and his dad married his mistress 2 months later. He went into debt to provide for her, and then she ran off with another guy, and he unalived himself.
My God.
So it gets heavy for a second, but it's all in the past. She ends up talking about Walker.
It's all in the past.
It's all in the past. She talks about Walker, how he seems unhinged right now, how he's never been like this before.
Is he still texting her and stuff?
She's blocked his number at this point, so that's why she didn't know.
Do we know if Tracy's still in the picture?
So Tracy and him are together.
Oh.
They're together. They're living together, and they've gone to the press together, being like, "She's crazy. We're together, and we're very happy in life."
I would say good for them of finally just like, you know.
But they keep bashing her.
But then they keep bashing her, and he showed up at her brother's restaurant to be like, "I know you still want me. Let's get back together."
It's like a John Mulaney, Olivia Munn situation, but also if Olivia Munn was 8 months pregnant at the time, which is insane.
She did get pregnant.
Yeah, no, I know, but like at least there was some plausible deniability because she wasn't showing like as much. But if someone was 8 months pregnant and was like, "Yeah, they just broke up, but now we're together and we're very happy," it would be a little more suspicious.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Basically, she's saying Walker seems unhinged. Noah's like, "Hey, why don't you get some extra security?" Chloe's like, "I'm trying, but I'm also still at EJ's place and looking for my own place." And Noah's like, "Hey, I own a couple of brownstones. I live in one.
Casually.
The one next to me is actually vacant. So
neighbors.
Vacant.
Vacant.
But
Vacant?
the one next to me is vacant. And he's like, "Why don't I give you a reduced rate and you can move in, and that way like we can put some more security on. It already has like really high tech security." And she's like, "So you'd be my boss and my landlord?" And he's like, "But like we're friends." And she's like, "Well, okay." So at this point, I'm reading this because I'm like, she keeps kind of wanting to, this is how I relate it to the song as of right now. Like, she keeps wanting to move on from a bad ex.
Sure, yeah.
And she's waiting for the green light. And now it's kind of turning into, like, they're both waiting for each other to give each other the green light in this instance, like Noah and Chloe.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so now that's kind of where I'm at with the song in the book. So just to, like, keep you updated.
I appreciate the touching back in.
Yeah. So Chloe moves in. She's living the life. All her friends are like, "This place is amazing." One night she goes out for food. She comes back. Noah's bringing a model into his apartment, and she's like, "Well, fuck." She starts getting drunk in her hot tub because the brownstone has a hot tub out in the back.
Right.
And she realizes she can see into his kitchen. And she sees him and the model making out. And she goes for, like, his pants. And he's like, "Can't, sorry." And he, like, brushes her off. The model, like, gets mad and leaves. And he starts, like, decompressing after the date. And he, like, starts kind of, like, you know, getting cozy. And she's like, "I can't watch this," because he's clearly about to jerk off. And then, like, pause on that. The two end up going to a new Hampton resort for the weekend for work. It's like one that they're building, and he needs social media posts, so he's bringing Chloe. Noah gets jealous because she's introducing him to all the workmen, he's introducing her to the workmen, and they're these big, rugged, burly men, and they're flirting with her. And he gets incredibly jealous. And then they maintain the profession demeanor, and then they work, and then, you know, they go to a club and they have dinner, and they still work, but they're still kind of looking at each other. Then they start driving back, and a storm starts happening. It's a really bad storm.
Is the storm the green light?
It's
Is there a tornado?
There's a green flash
green
on the
outside?
horizon.
well, Chloe starts having a panic attack.
Chloe? Why?
I'm about to tell you.
That's anytime one of your friends is having a panic attack, just ask them why.
He's like trying to like calm her down, be like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" They get to like the unfinished resort that they're staying in,
right?
And she kind of collapses on the ground. He like carries her up to the room that she's staying in, and he ends up staying the night. And she kind of lets him know that like her parents, I had mentioned earlier, her parents had died. They had died in a plane crash where a storm happened.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So she's scared of storms generally.
Yeah, like really bad ones.
Not
It reminds her
planes.
of no.
Yeah, she flew to this resort, no problem.
She's fine with planes, but it's the storm
Well,
that
it's
she has a
because
problem
the
with.
storm was the reason that the plane went down.
Right.
So logically,
Right.
Of course.
why are you trying to poke holes in the story?
I'm just saying, if they died in a car crash or a storm was
Yeah.
happening, I would understand it more.
I'm not gonna lie. Did that
Struck
thought cross
by
my
lightning?
mind?
Yeah.
Yes. So he's comforting her the whole time, and later on when they get back to the city, Logan is like, "Did you fuck her yet?" Because she's an employee, so you shouldn't. He's like, "No, we're just friends." He's like, "So friends just go and comfort each other all night and like drink wine and work
Logan's a
together?"
good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Logan's like,
Logan
"Hey."
has very healthy relationships
Yes.
with the friends in his life.
And Anderson, the other guy friend, is like, "I think you should go for it." And Logan's like, "She is an employee. Do not touch her." So that's kind of what's happening in his world. Chloe's 30th birthday is approaching. They
Clock's a ticket.
the clocks. I get it. And she starts working out. Noah. Okay, so she works out, and she goes to Noah's personal bathroom in his office because they're like pretty good friends at this
Yeah.
point. Because she went in early, she wants to shower before work, and she gets stuck
Oh,
in her
she's
top.
showering in his like personal
Yes.
bathroom off his office.
Yeah,
Okay.
and she cannot take her top off. It's like a lycra, like built-in bra type
one
of thing.
those sports
Got
bra
it.
things.
And she has, and what I also appreciate is she's a curvy gal,
Yeah.
and she cannot get it off. She's stuck in it to a point where she's having a panic attack. And Noah arrives.
Dorms and tight and sports
Hey,
bras.
have you
Right,
ever?
right.
No, Will, have you ever been stuck in an article of clothing before?
Yes, not sober, but
So soberly, I have, and it is terrifying.
I've tried on a dress that was a few sizes too small, like, in a
Yes.
dressing room.
It's
and then
scary.
experienced like, I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this situation.
Yeah.
So I
Sure.
understand that.
Uh,
yeah.
It's a real
Okay,
thing that's happening.
I'm sorry. I'm not to.
No,
I'm
it's
not
okay.
No, you're
Because I know
fine.
it does sound
But it
silly.
is- if she had now that we've established that she only has panic attacks about her parents dying, so it's like, okay, so were
guys.
her parents stuck in clothes on the plane?
She
during
doesn't
the storm?
only have panic attacks.
Emily,
about her
everyone
parents.
knows panic attacks follow very strict rules.
Rules
They're
and
very
regulations.
reliable. They never bleed into other areas of your
Absolutely
life.
not.
I'm
Absolutely
gonna
not.
tell my therapist you said that. So her boobs are out, but her arm is stuck, her neck is stuck, and
Yeah.
that's when Noah walks in, and he just gets a full face of boob. He's kind of laughing at her, and she's like, "No, I'm about to cry. Like, please help me."
Yeah.
He cuts it off of her. She like kind of holds
Yeah.
herself. She's like, "Can I shower?" And he's like, "You're fine. You're okay." And she's
Yeah.
clearly so embarrassed. You're gonna get so mad at this part. While she's showering, he goes out, buys a cake, because it's her birthday.
Okay.
And
I missed that part.
sorry, yeah, it's her 30th
I was like,
birthday.
sorry, you got stuck in your shirt. Here's a cake.
So as she's showering, he comes back and he calls Anderson. It's like, I don't know what to do. Like, she's so embarrassed, and I just want to make it okay. And he goes, "Take off your pants."
Oh, why did you call Anderson?
Yeah,
Never
she
call
called
Anderson.
Logan.
Anderson's definitely like the sex guy. And
Yeah, he's the
Logan's
fuck boy.
Yeah, he's the fuck boy. And so he delivers a cake with his pants down to make it even. And he's like, "Happy birthday!" And she's like, and she just starts laughing. And he's like, "Not what I want, but I'm glad you're
Dude,
not
be
embarrassed."
happy it's not a major L. Like,
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
and so that makes it like okay between them. So then they
Okay.
start eating cake and they're like fine, but he sees that she's sad. They go on a walk in the park, which is across the street from their building. Turns out internet trolls are making her think she's very fat, hence why Walker cheated on her. Like, so this shit is still happening. He kind of is like, "You're the most amazing woman I've ever met." You know, he even says the words, "I wish you were mine." They almost kiss, but then his phone rings and Chloe starts thinking too much and she leaves. Both of them talk to their friends about the incident. Both of them are like, "Get over it. You like each other." That night, her birthday party's happening at the brownstone. Emma hires these buff guys, these like stripper guys, to carry her in on a big white throne.
Right.
She sees Lena and Logan kind of like have words, and they go off. So she runs off after them, into which she runs into Noah. It's like on the side of her brownstone, and she realizes, like, they start talking, that he's jealous about the buff gentleman that had carried her. He can't stop himself and wants to give her the best birthday gift of all. So he pushes her against the wall and kisses her. And I call this one pushed against the wall like he means it. And because that's also something he says.
That he means it?
He means it.
Could I offer maybe an alternate?
Absolutely.
Sure, yeah, let me just call Jalot and tell her. But yeah, what's your alternate, buddy?
No, title to this scene.
Oh,
the
go
sex.
ahead, yes.
Yeah. One in the brownstone.
I like it. I was a little lazy with the titles today, so I will gladly
that's a good
get
one.
some other ones.
Good job.
After this like really intense kiss, Noah leaves. He goes next door to go home.
Yeah.
And Chloe just gets real drunk. It's her birthday. She's like, can't stop thinking about it. She gets texts from all these people, including one of the wags, which is a wife and girlfriend. Like that's a term that is used for.
She's not
if
walking
you don't know.
dogs and got a text.
No. A wag is a term for a wife or girlfriend who is a partner of someone who is on a professional sports team or something like
yeah.
that.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
one of them texts her happy birthday and it's like, I'm so sorry that this happened. She goes, huh? And she goes, you don't know yet? Tracy and Walker picked that day to get engaged and post about it on her birthday. So she starts crying a little.
Feels a little pointed to me.
Yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah.
realizes how happy she is that she's in New York now.
Yeah.
And I said, ... like, ... she's ready to move on, possibly? Like a green light?
A green light?
So later that night, drunk Chloe is eating in her backyard when she decides she wants to end her birthday with sex. She goes up, gets changed into the sluttiest thing she owns, which I totally identify with, and walks over to Noah's. She chickens out after knocking on his door, falls down the stairs.
What?
You know, you know, like the stairs up to a brownstone. It's like 6 steps. She's wearing like super high heels. She's like, nope. Turns. Boom, goes straight down.
No.
To which that's when Noah opens the
Right,
door
of
and is
course.
like, oh my God. He like picks her up, carries her in, and starts cleaning her up in his kitchen. He's like,
She's so quirky.
she's so quirky. And they both are saying that they want to continue the kiss, which leads to number 2, which I called starting out your 30s with a bang.
Nice.
And in which they bang. And it's wonderful.
Great.
Jessica's so bad. The next morning, she freaks out because she's still in his bed.
Yeah.
And she goes home. She like sneaks home where Ariana, her friend who slept over, kind of talks her off the ledge, you know. And we learn that Chloe's kind of worried that Walker like broke her. And she's like, no. And Ariana, which I actually kind of love this part, Ariana goes over to Noah's house, which is again next door.
Right.
And it's like, hey, don't give up on her. She's just freaking out, but she's really into you.
Yeah.
And don't tell her I said
Yeah.
this. And he's like, thank you.
I feel like that's a very normal thing that happens after a bad breakup, though, where you do usually. I feel like I usually have a moment where I'm like, I'm permanently fucked up, and no one could ever love me again, and that's just the reality now, and that's clearly what's going on. So I
Yes.
appreciate that they
Yeah.
have that, and
Yeah.
then she also has a friend that knows enough to go, you're being a fucking idiot.
yeah.
Because it's like, good friends will keep all your secrets.
Yeah.
Great friends will know the ones that they need to not keep.
Yes.
kind of thing.
Absolutely.
I agree with that
Yep.
hardcore.
Yep.
Yeah, so Chloe later on, she sobers up and, like showers and goes over, and they both kind of talk and they say, "Hey, we actually do want to date each other, so let's start doing this." And so the next day they like go in and they sign the love contract, and
Yep.
Logan is a piece of shit to them, and he's just like kind of a dick about it. And
What? They went immediately to HR and put it in paperwork. What
Well-
do you want, Logan?
well, Logan's real mad because like maybe his love life isn't going really well. Maybe him and
maybe-
Lena are not having a good
And maybe
time.
we have to read one of the sequels to find out
yeah,
more.
maybe I don't know.
Logan and his partner Tracy were about to have a kid, and then she left him for some guy.
So he kind of like says something to which the two, because Lena's there like as HR, he has to sign the thing there.
Yeah.
The two women leave, and Noah and him start like full on fighting to a point where like fists are thrown.
Oh, wow.
Anderson walks in. He's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you two?" He breaks it up, and he breaks it up by being like, "You know what? We all make decisions. Like I got drunkenly married the other day," and they're like, "Huh?"
What?
To Emma, one of Chloe's friends, and you'll find out more about that if you read one of those books.
Just after the birthday party, hey, want to go get married?
It was actually in Vegas months and months ago.
Wow.
It's
I'd
pretty
read that
funny.
book. That's pretty good.
Actually,
I like that.
that one is my favorite one of the whole series.
Okay.
You would
Okay.
like it.
Yeah.
Chloe and Noah continue to work together, and they have the little trysts at lunch. They meet at a hotel at lunchtime, and they kind of role play, in which I call number 3 Afternoon Delight. Again, I was a little, well, lazy with these.
I mean, that's a good one. That's a tried and true.
They role play as like boss and like assistant or whatever, and he tells her he loves her, and she's like, pause, is this real? Or is this like,
Is this part of the role play?
am I just your
Yeah.
best? And he's like, no, this is real. I just want to like be with you all the time. And he's like, she's great. So
Feels like okay, weird time to tell someone you love them for the first time.
It was the
is
heat
in
of the moment.
Middle of all right.
So this kind of like just continues. We just see like they're in love, they're working together, they're basically spending every night together. Girls' night happens. She sneaks out and goes over to Noah's, during it, which I called the trench coat burglar. She shows up in nothing but a trench coat and heels.
Great.
Classic.
Yes.
Also, she wakes him up like he hears like noises in his brownstone and he's like, am I getting burgled? No, it's just a
It's a
my
naked
girlfriend.
lady. Yeah.
They realize they still haven't told EJ yet, and they're both friends with him. One's his brother.
Oh,
So
right.
they set that up, and he gets mad, but then it's fine. And then because maybe something's happening in his life.
Oh my god.
Oh wow.
Oh my god. It's all connected. It's that. It's Charlie from.
I've got a whole
It's
box full of
Always
Pepe
Sunny.
Sylvia.
Pepe Sylvia.
Carol. So the Hampton Resort opens. Chloe and Noah decide to go public as a couple.
Yeah.
And so they post it on their Instagram. And that night, Walker does an interview in which he sees the Instagram and says that she is still his and he will do anything he can to get her back. They go back to the city where they are hounded by paparazzi. They end up hiding out in a hotel for like weeks because
Wow.
they can't get away. They increase security because Walker's threats have become more unhinged.
What's going on with Tracy at this point? Is she just like out of the picture? Like we just don't care about.
Well,
do we really
as far
care about
as far as
Tracy
the public
anymore?
knows,
No.
as far as the public knows, she's popped and they're engaged.
Yeah.
They're a happy
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Oh, the kid's name is Bear, by the way.
Bear.
Bear.
Like spelled like the animal bear.
Yes,
Why?
not the naked ladies, the animal. They hide out. Things go back to normal. Chloe basically moves into Noah's apartment, and I'm not going to finish the synopsis for you, but I'll leave you with this. Things are back to normal, and they're in love, and the Wags come to visit New York. And while she's out, something starts feeling weird, and she gets drugged and kidnapped.
What?
And we don't know what happens.
Oh my god.
That's the note you're gonna leave it on?
It starts at like a 10 and kind of stays up there the whole
Yeah.
time, and it's a really
Wow.
fun read. I'm wondering if you can see how throughout that book it was a justification thing of like, I want this to happen. I need a green light to move forward.
100%. The scene
Yeah.
where she's like, I'm getting fucked tonight and starts putting on her sexiest clothing. Like that song is playing like in the background and she's like, I look hot right now. Green light. And then it cuts out and she falls down the steps.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's like a really fun read. It was Off Limits by J-Lo. J.A. Lo.
J.A. Lo.
And it's super fun.
Yeah.
And the whole series is really fun.
Do you have a game?
So at one point, I had mentioned the Up Against the Brownstone
Yes.
kiss. I know a lot of girls have had this where it's like, don't you want to be kind of like pushed against a wall and kissed? Or like there's something like sexual about that, or that you've read in a book or done in real life that has been inspired by a thing. Let's do a ranking, a best to worst. Let's do Pushed Against the Brownstone kiss.
Okay.
Let's do Trent showing up in a trench coat and drunkenly going for it.
I mean, I've done all of these, so
Let's go 3 to 1. What's your number one that you would either want to do or like to do the most, depending on your experiences?
And when you say like drunkenly going for it, you mean like first kiss type, like you find like it's kind of the breaking point.
I was thinking like it's kind of a booty call if you think about it. Like she's so drunk that she's like, this is it. I'm going to fuck the guy that I've wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's 2 a.m., like she
Yeah.
dressed up for it. Like, and sometimes it's the most fun and sometimes it's the most messy, but,
or both.
or both. ¿Por qué no los dos? So if you need a moment.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. I can go first for sure.
Oh yeah,
I think
interesting enough, I'm wondering what a guy would like out of these 3, because girls might have a different view.
Right. And we'll touch on that for sure. I think to put number 1, I think just because that's the one that I haven't like done is the trench coat, just because like I think that's fun. I haven't done it yet. I'm like, that sounds like a great time. I've got like little touch of like exhibitionism and like that.
Yeah.
It kind of falls right into that kind of like a little risque, like a little taboo, but like not
Safe.
Yeah, exactly. A safe, moderated version of
Yes.
that. Absolutely. So I think that's going to be my number 1. Number 2 being like, pushed up against the wall. Who doesn't love a like tension's been building and
Yeah.
blood, the dam breaks, and yeah, absolutely, that's hot, it's sexy, it's great. That drunken one, I think, is a little bit similar to that one, in which it can be good. I think as a guy, you have to be aware of a power imbalance there, right? Like there's societally, there is, and it's something that is I've had to learn through my life, and like that, just like there are different levels of appropriateness. Like being drunk, there is a power dynamic, a power structure that is existent in our society where men have a lot of agency and women don't. And you really got to be aware about that. So that one's real low on the bottom of my list, because it's just fair. Like, as a man, it makes me uncomfortable.
There's
about
too much room for potential misunderstanding.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I will say as a blanket statement, like, this was not that issue. Like,
sure.
You know, she fell down the stairs. She sobered up. Like, it was it was a drunk thought sober moment type of deal, like where it happened. But there was nothing bad that happened from that. And so I just want to put that as a blanket statement.
I think too, having her be the narrator in that moment,
Yes.
like if that scene had been written from his point of view, I would have been like, ugh.
Yeah, like if from your perspective, if a drunk woman shows up on your doorstep, you're like, let's take a pause.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I have always texted the person beforehand.
Oh, yeah. I've never
shown up. It's always been
hey,
like, I'm gonna, or how are we, and
Yes.
gotten kind of that little initial
consent,
cracking of the door open. But yeah, so I think for me, number one is definitely like push up against the wall. Always a classic. Love it. As long as there's a hand there to protect the head, we feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why you curve the back. You get the shoulder blades first.
I know,
You
but
know, the hottest position to be kissing in, hunched over.
Yeah. Well, because if you're truly taken by surprise, usually you can't do that. But, but it is hot to know that like the person that has initiated it is thinking ahead.
Well, that's
and
why
protecting you.
it's the hand up on the wall behind them that you also just slide behind their head. It's
Ooh, okay.
Good move, Will.
Okay,
Good
Will.
move.
I see. Oh, my guy. Look at that.
Yeah. And then number 2, trench coat, and then number 3, drunken going for it. Just because drunken going for it, there was what Will so eloquently already said, but then also it has gone badly just as much as it has gone well for me. And so, but whereas the other two, I have a 100% success rate, and I feel good about that.
Just batting average wise.
Yeah. If we're thinking about stats here, we're gonna put the drunken hook up at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I've never done the trench coat thing, but I've wanted to. I've done robes. Like someone has shown up and I was there in a robe kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's fun. I think the passion of a up against the wall type of deal is probably my number one, because it could lead to something more, or it could just be a kiss.
Yeah.
I guess I want to put drunken hook up on the bottom. At least for me personally, I have some sort of like an yes, there's like a power dynamic, but I feel in charge and I feel more empowered, or like more I'm more emboldened is what
Drinking
it is.
Remove some inhibition
Yeah.
from it.
And
for
so,
sure.
and I'm like much more like, I want to go for it. And I like that feeling, but so, you know, there is once in a while when the next day you're like, I shouldn't have done that. But that was a bad idea.
Other me.
I have absolutely been there where I've woken up the next day and been like, oh, okay.
He just mimed looking over.
This is an audio format. Nobody can tell that I just made some side eye. I was like, oh no, I gotta get out.
See, no, I've had that moment too, where both of us look at each other and go, never again. Cool.
Yeah.
I will ask for the pushing up against the wall thing. When you answer that question, were you being the one pushed, or were you doing the pushing?
I was doing the pushing.
Okay.
Although, I mean, I would be open to either. I mean, it's you know, I'm all game. You want to take charge?
I've done
Absolutely,
both.
swing me off my
I've done
feet.
both.
Go for it. I have more fun in the dominant position personally, and that is what I've had the most experience with, just because traditional gender norms.
Yeah.
But, I enjoy it. It's a fun time.
Cool.
It's great. Yeah. Now, maybe oversharing here, but just like a push up against the wall, make out into like a titty suck. Hot. Hot.
I agree with that.
Really great.
I agree with that.
It's really nice. Just a real quick like
The leverage is very
down
helpful.
right there. You've
Yep.
got the yeah.
You know what's even hotter? In the women's position, when you get lifted up against the wall.
Okay, well,
I
some
know
of
some
us
people-
are a little on the smaller side.
Well, hey, some of us are on the bigger side, so I understand. It's not always.
I've done a little bit of against the wall, like full pickup, because
Yeah.
it's more about your core strength than
It's
anything
more about
else. And,
leveraging
like,
core strength, yeah.
I fully will always keep at least, I'll have a hand or a foot on something else because I don't want the man to throw out their back while they're doing stuff.
I have done that before.
Yeah,
I have.
It's a real. I don't think. Listen, I know. I'm a curvy girl. I'm not like big. I don't think I'm fat.
No.
Could I get more in shape? Yes. But does that mean I'm fat? No. But do I recognize that some people cannot do things while they are holding my body weight?
Yes.
Like yes.
Yes.
So I'm a realistic gal, but I can write a romance novel. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In my head and on paper.
Yeah.
So
My goal one day is to be able to pick Keenan up.
and do a titty suck there.
I've been weightlifting for a reason. That's the main reason. Is pick Keenan up.
out into a titty.
Reverse the role.
Oh, it was so funny. I really was not expecting that.
I love it, Will.
That really made me blush. Oh my
Hey.
god.
Hey, listener, this is the unfettered access that you get when you listen to films
Should we
readings.
get into my fanfic?
Yes, please.
Yes, I think we should.
Okay.
Let's dive right in.
All right. So for me, what I really wanted to emulate from Greenlight was the pining, the angst, but also that kind of friendship component as well that I mentioned at the beginning, like the idea of like kind of a close-knit circle of friends, maybe with maybe like a little bit of kind of, I feel like when you have, at least this was my experience in high school, you have like 20 or so people you spend a lot of time with, and it gets very incestuous, for lack of a better word. Like everybody's kind of dated everybody.
Every
and-
theater department in
Yup.
every high school.
Yeah, and that was like some of the lyrics in Greenlight gives me that vibe of like, I know who you are, and
it does
Yeah.
give that vibe big time. Wow.
yeah, so I wanted to go for something like that. And then also something that I like about that song too, it almost feels like a transition in your period of life, like almost from young to older, and like moving forward in your relationships to maybe a more mature thing. Like it feels hopeful to me in that way. So I wanted something like that as well. And I know exactly what fandom I should look in, which was Gossip Girl.
Oh my god.
So
I am excited for this.
we will be talking about Conversations on Aesthetics by Cassandra Morton-Main. It is 7 chapters long. It was finished September 28th of 2021. And some notable tags are Dan is not Gossip Girl.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Chuck bashing, warning for mentions of Donald Trump, and emails. And I was curious. Dan is not Gossip Girl is a tag for 61 works on Archive of Our Own.
Okay.
So
Absolutely. A lot of people mad about that one.
yeah, a lot of people were like,
get
no.
I can do better.
Yeah. And the pairing for this one is Blair and Dan.
Is Blair Blake Lively?
Yes.
Okay, great.
No, Blair.
Blair is
Is the other one.
Leighton Meester.
Okay.
That's the brown-haired one.
Gotcha.
Serena is Blake
Lively.
I have not watched the show.
That's okay.
but
Okay, that's fine.
And Dan is you. Pen Badgley.
Badgley.
Yes.
Badgley.
Yes.
So
We'll give you the rundown. But Blair and Dan is the second most popular pairing on AO3.
really,
There are 600 works about them. Chuck and Blair is the most popular.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't like. Well, I should say I read the books. I didn't really watch the show.
Okay.
So that Chuck is not the same character in the books as he is in the show.
There are books?
Oh my god, yeah.
So the
it's like
series is based on a series of books.
It's like 10 books or something. It's insane.
And we should say that this is based on the OG CW 2007 show.
Right.
There is a
Not the
remake
reboot.
that just happened
On HBO.
that I know nothing about. I did not watch.
I
This
heard
is-
it's not good.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go piss, girl.
Yeah, so like we said, it's based on novels by Cecily von Ziegler.
Ziegler?
Ziegler. It's Zeigsar.
I mean, it's been literally years.
But you read the books.
I did.
I read just the first one. I did not read the whole series.
Okay.
But to my understanding, it's kind of similar, but it's basically just like rich teenagers that
Like
are
insanely rich private school teenagers. in
New York socialite.
Yep, and the drama they get into. There's a lot of partying, there's a lot of backstabbing. And over the course of the show, everybody ends up with everybody else pretty much
Yeah.
at some point.
Sure.
So in the show, Dan and Blair do get together briefly, but mostly Blair and Chuck have like an on again, off again thing throughout the entirety of Gossip Girl. But the overall thing, because you both just said that you didn't see the show really, so I assume that I should just summarize it.
Yes.
Yeah, I know some of it. Like, I had friends who watched it, and I kind of know it, but
There's
it would
a
be...
vlog.
It's
the Gossip Girl.
I was obsessed with
The Go
it.
Piss Girl.
I definitely, because Gossip Girl and Vampire Diaries were kind of on the same time.
Yeah.
I think it was like Gossip Girl would air and then Vampire Diaries right after or something like that. So that was like my block of time on Thursdays growing up.
I gotta get home from Gossip Girl.
Yeah. So a quick summary. All rich kids. Blair is best friends with Serena, Serena is kind of the it girl, blonde one, played by Blake Lively. Blair is her like more buttoned up, very focused on academic achievement, but also kind of the mean girl of the school. Like she runs shit. And then as they get older,
she has her shit together, and if you don't, you're gonna hear about it.
Basically, yes. Like she's like a very rich, proper Regina George.
Yeah.
Her mom owns like a fashion house, and there's like a lot of stuff where she's like dealing with an eating disorder. Blair was my favorite character. I really liked Blair.
Yeah.
And she's best friends with Serena, and Serena starts seeing Dan, which is kind of how Blair and Dan start to go on like adventures together is like through Serena. Dan is like the outsider. His family is not rich, but he's basically at the school, I think as like a scholarship guy.
He's the token poor.
Yeah, kind of, yes.
Correct.
Yes. And so he like lives in Brooklyn, and everyone makes fun of him because he lives in Brooklyn. Yeah.
Your rent's only $2,000.
Right. Like still in one of the most beautiful lofts you've ever seen.
Right.
But everyone's like, like, and Blair like bullies him for being poor and all of this stuff.
Classic Blair.
Yeah. And then, so yeah, Dan is like the sensitive writer type, and he's kind of brought into the world by Serena. In the course of the show, he publishes a book called Inside under a pseudonym, which is about everybody, and that's like a huge scandal.
Sorry, in the show, his big secret is that he's Gossip Girl, but then he publicly releases a book where he basically just is Gossip Girl in his book.
Yes, but the book thing happens like 2 seasons before.
How do they not see
the
it coming?
finale? And no one likes the way Gossip Girl ends. I stopped watching Gossip Girl in like the 4th season when Chuck gets amnesia and becomes French for a while.
Okay, got it. Cool.
And I stopped at that point, and a lot of people just like kind of stopped. I think I tried to watch the finale just to be like, this was a show that was important to me for a while. I should wrap it up, and I couldn't even do that. But Chuck, though, like, is kind of known throughout the show to be a piece of shit. Like, his dad is also known to be a piece of shit. His uncle is, and he's got big old daddy issues, and his whole arc is just him trying to prove himself. But him and Blair have kind of an on again, off again, because they're like the schemers of the group, and so they come together to like blackmail people and ruin people's lives. But they're just incredibly toxic, and that is a known thing. But in the show, they do end up together. They do have a kid.
Jesus.
Named
that kid's
Henry.
gonna be fine.
Yeah,
Henry's making it out of
that
there.
kid's gonna go.
No
it's gonna be
problem.
great.
That kid's gonna be quite the schemer.
Yeah. So yeah, they end up together. But yeah, the 2 important things to know is at one point, one of the big things that happens where they're dating and then they break up for a while, and that's when Dan gets in there for a minute. And then during that time, Dan and Blair are at NYU together. They get the same internship, and their relationship, so Blair and Chuck's relationship is all scheming and being very rich and going on vacations and doing rich people things. Dan is like, do you want to talk about books together?
Well,
and
he's
like
an intellectual.
Yeah, like let's go, let's like, what you want to come over and like watch a movie and we'll eat Chinese food and like hang out, and like she like falls asleep on his shoulder, and it's very sweet, and it's just very like, it's a complete opposite thing.
Yeah.
So I always really had a soft spot for Dan and Blair together, and was very sad when it didn't work out. Any questions?
Why
about
didn't
this?
it work out?
It didn't. So Blair left him for Chuck.
Okay.
Yeah, she was
Great.
like, Chuck's my soulmate. We're meant to be together.
The decisions of these
Chuck and I
characters.
understand each other's lifestyles
2
more.
terrible people finding each other.
Correct.
I'd rather the terrible people be together than be ruining that good person's life. But
True, and Flick
Also,
that on Dan.
good person
Yeah.
is a little though.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great. But also Dan kind of Blair kind of pushes him away because she's always assuming that Dan loves Serena more, but then it's just a matter of time. Like Blair kind of self-sabotages the fuck out of it, essentially. But Dan also doesn't do a whole lot to fight for her. He kind of just goes, you know what, whatever, and then the show moves on from there.
He goes, you're not wrong.
Yeah. So a lot of stuff going on. Okay. Let's get into it. I do want to say, if anybody does end up like wanting to read this, there are a lot of flashbacks in this story. So the way I'm going to tell it is not necessarily the way that it was written.
Okay.
We're getting the linear version.
Yeah, just for the sake of understanding better what's going on. So this is all from Dan's perspective. And we open on some backstory that Dan and Serena got married at Chuck Bass's house.
Oh.
And Dan is
Friday
thinking,
night.
Yup. And Dan is thinking about how that's kind of his scandalous cocktail party story, is dropping that fact of like, yeah, I got married at Chuck Bass's house, and people going, Chuck Bass? Oh my God, you know him? Oh my God. Because Serena and Dan get married in 2017. Blair plans and hosts it because her and Serena are best friends. But Chuck, at that time, is a very public Trump supporter.
Oy.
And all of this, by the way, this is taking place like a while after the series ends.
Yeah.
So like they're grown up and we're kind of moving forward from there. This is not like Chuck being a Trump supporter is not part of the Gossip Girl show. But yeah, so Chuck is a Trump supporter, and it's kind of a scandal how close the Trumps and the Basses are. And Blair kind of tries to spin it in the public eye and has her Hillary fundraiser across the hall from his Trump fundraiser, and they do like a New York Times style section article.
Look, we're both sides.
Yeah, like being love in these trying times, like da-da-da-da-da. And Blair kind of, from Dan's perspective, because he's still constantly thinking about, like, she's the one that got away for him.
Sure.
But he's, like, in denial about that. But he's also, it doesn't mean anything, but I do keep tabs on her and think about her all the time. It's whatever.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I do keep tabs on her.
Yeah, and he kind of resents that Blair is clearly giving Chuck, like, public cover until after Trump actually gets elected, at which point Chuck is a little bit too smug going to Trump Tower to meet the president. Ugh. And it just kind of starts to unravel in the public from there that these two are not doing well. Okay. Because then Me Too happens and some accusations about Chuck come out.
Ooh, yep.
And the press is calling him a rapist and questioning Blair for still being with him and the way that it's described as Dan is like checking her Instagram, and she does one of those posts of like just like two hands holding like, some people don't understand how difficult it is to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Da 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 da. And during this time, Dan feels bad for her and like writes her an email saying, hey, if you ever need a movie buddy, I'm here. But she never writes him back. And he's just like still kind of thinking about her all the time. And he's like, but I don't really know her anymore. Like, she's been through this whole marriage. She has a kid now.
Yeah, she's married with a kid, dude.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, we were only together for 3 months, even though we were friends for a long time before that. But he can't stop himself from just kind of keeping tabs. Yeah. He kind of blames himself for her still being with Chuck because he didn't fight for her.
Try hard enough.
Yeah, he didn't have the green light to fight for her, as it were.
The green light.
And then in 2018, she steps down from her mom's fashion house where she was working, and she was kind of running it, and her Instagram goes dark. And then Dan doesn't really see anything from her for a couple of years, and then COVID hits. And Dan is living alone. Now, Dan and Serena have gotten a divorce.
Okay.
Oh. Nate and Serena are together now because, of course.
Do Dan and Serena have kids?
No.
Okay.
No. They were married for like 2 years. They got a divorce amicably. They were just like, they were on again, off again for a very long time. They continued to be so. And just like, you know what?
Maybe marriage will fix all our problems.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're like, we're still friends. We still care about each other. They didn't have like a huge blow up or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an expensive Band-Aid marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh boy.
Do you like that one?
And
Wedding
during this
Band-Aid.
time, Jenny gets Dan a puppy that he names Caraway.
Oh,
Because he's alone in his apartment during COVID.
Uh-huh.
And Serena tries to set up like a reunion Zoom with everybody. He's like, we shall hang out.
Yeah.
And Dan leaves the chat and does not show up. But then Serena fills him in that the Zoom is just like Chuck and Blair screaming at each other.
Ooh, juicy. I'd log on just for that.
Yes. And so Dan is like, oh, okay, something interesting. I'm not invested, but something's going on.
What's the meeting code?
Yeah. And then during that time, Dan starts reading. He's just reading everything he can because he's bored to death. He starts reading this fashion blog called Poison Pen, and he kind of likes how bitchy it is, and it's this Gossip Girl-esque fashion blog.
I wonder who's writing it.
Yeah. It's fine. It's whatever. And so Dan, who's a writer, also has a book published, etc. So Dan starts writing because he has nothing else to do. And he writes a story about a boy who's in love with his former best friend, and she wears really hot lace tights all the time, but she can never love him back. And then he's kind of, the pandemic is the pandemic. Everyone's just trying to survive. And he's reading Poison Pen one day. And Poison Pen writes about the importance of having a routine during the pandemic and not just like losing yourself to every day. And it uses the phrase, friends are the biggest fashion fundamentals. And Dan is like, that phrase is really familiar to me. Where have I heard friends are the biggest fashion fundamentals before? And he like spends the day going through his emails and he finds a essay that Blair wrote and like shared with him. And is like, and then emails Blair going, hey, are you Poison Pen?
By any chance?
And she does not answer. But then a couple days later hears from Nate that Serena helped Blair move out of her apartment with Chuck and takes their child with her.
She probably hasn't been checking her emails.
No.
So this whole time has Dan just been like sending her like, hey, just checking up, are you doing? And getting no response?
Yeah, Dan has sent her 2 emails. One when all the Me Too stuff dropped to just be like, try to be supportive. And then another one when he put together the Poison Pen thing.
So it's just 2. It's not like all the time.
No, it's just 2. But she didn't respond to either one. And then he finds out that she has moved out of their apartment with Chuck with their kid, and then she responds like the next day.
Okay.
And she says, because he had said, "Are you the writer of the blog Poison Pen?" And she says, "It's not a blog; it's a newsletter." And she says, "If you tell anybody that it's me, I will have you killed. Don't fuck with me."
Damn.
Yeah, which is very Blair.
Yes.
Yeah. And they kind of, at that point, they keep emailing. Like, they start emailing each other and just chatting. And Dan tells her, like, I'm really happy that you're getting space from Chuck and, like, moving on, and that must feel good. And Blair admits that she's been thinking about it for a while, and that her last straw was when Chuck took a public stance against masks. Because she was like, we have a baby, and you need to fucking wear a mask. Yeah. And she also says, like, because I'm leaving Chuck and he is a well-known asshole who's going to try to take me for everything I have, Poison Pen is income off the books that I can make that he doesn't know about. So, so she's like, genuinely, please don't tell anybody.
Nobody can know.
Yeah, she's like, this is part of my escape plan. Yeah. Like, please don't.
If the courts find out that this is attached, then it becomes a whole thing.
Right. Well, it's not even the, like, part of the official divorce proceeding. She's like, Chuck has private investigators. Chuck has like a history of like doing shady shit to people, and I don't want them to know about this because this is like, I'm trying to extricate myself from his income and all of that. And then we get a flashback to when they were both married, when Blair was with Chuck and Dan was with Serena, and they would see each other all the time at like galas and parties and openings or whatever. And they were at one, and they end up kind of like ending up in a corner together, and they start talking, and it's just like old times.
Blair and Dan, or all 4 of them?
Blair and Dan.
Got it.
And they're talking about books and art, and they're just engaged. And Dan's like, and suddenly like 3 hours have gone by, and we just spent the whole night talking to each other. But Serena notices, and Chuck notices. And Serena is like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, that happened, and that didn't feel great, but I'm glad you guys caught up. Like, I love you both.
Sure.
Yeah. But that the next thing that they're at, Dan kind of goes up to Blair and is like, hey, have you read any good books lately? And Blair fully cold blows him off and is like, why do you think you're fucking talking to me, Humphrey? And like walks away and walks right to Chuck and kind of talks to him really quietly. And then Chuck looks over her shoulder and like kind of gives Dan like a smirk. It's like, and Dan, yeah. And so Dan is very in his feelings about this.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine.
And he gets very drunk at this gala and decides to pull Blair aside, and he like pulls her into like a side room and is like, what did Chuck do to you? Like, what did Chuck say? Because clearly he's jealous of something. And she tries to play it off as a joke and says, well, what do you think? I'm some kind of battered woman or something? And he goes, are you? Like, that wasn't okay. That wasn't normal. And she tries to be like, well, you never understood us, Dan. I'm fine. We just have a unique relationship. And he says, every time I see you with him, you look uncomfortable and afraid. I don't like this. I don't like it. And Blair says, well, it hurt Chuck's feelings how much we were talking at the last event. So I was just trying to smooth things over.
Get over it. I hate weak men.
And they like talk a little bit more, and Blair is clearly kind of like upset by that. And she admits, she missed talking to Dan and she enjoyed their conversation and kind of wishes that they could talk more, but she needs to placate Chuck, essentially. Yeah. And Dan says, well, like, if you're truly, if he's this controlling, you can leave. I will help you leave. I will help you get out. And he's also being selfish about this.
Like,
very much. Like,
Dan's not in the right here as he's still married and like.
Correct. And he says that, and she immediately goes cold. And he's like, shit, that was the wrong thing to say. I stepped in it there. And she goes cold, and then she gets mean. And she goes, well, why do you think I was with you before for any reason other than pity? Like, you're reading into our relationship. I let you worship me, but I never gave a shit about you. I did not care about you at all. And
hurt people.
Yup. And Dan says, I fucking hate you sometimes. And Blair... the quote was Blair looks delighted and then kisses him.
I knew a kiss was about to come. I knew it.
But then she does the thing where she kisses him and then she bites down really hard on his lip.
What?
Wait, hold on. That's a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Because that's a thing when it's like a sexy bite, not like a...
No, it's a fuck you type of thing. And she like bites down, and then she goes, I'm nicer than you deserve, so I won't tell Serena what you just did. And then she leaves.
No. I don't like any of that.
I'm very nice.
Also, I closed my eyes when you did that, and it scared me.
Sorry, I'm so vicious.
She's like a little chihuahua.
I was just like, no, and then it's like in my ears. Oh fuck. Okay.
So they have that moment. And Dan is like, now he feels bad. He knows he fucked up. He knows he shouldn't have said that. He's also worried a little bit for Blair because that her reaction was weird. And also Chuck is clearly very controlling, which he knew, but now the evidence is like right in front of him.
Yeah.
And so at the next event, Blair keeps like catching Dan's eye, and she's wearing this like sparkly bangle, and she keeps like kind of playing with it, and Dan is like, I think she's fucking with me, because there was a moment when they were together, when they were at a gala or something together, when they were dating, she kept messing with it all night, and he kind of became fixated on it. And when they banged later that night, he made her keep just the bangle on because he liked it or whatever. But it was like a thing. And then she's wearing it at
now she's
at this gala, and he's like, she's doing this on purpose. Like she's trying to rile me up. And he kind of he feels a lot of feelings about that, and then kind of flees to the bathroom, and she follows him. And she goes, what's wrong, Humphrey? And he tells her to call him Dan. And she's like, and she's clearly like going through something and trying to fuck with him, because she goes, I actually really meant something to you, didn't I? Like, our relationship meant something to you, didn't it? And he says, yeah, it did. And she says, don't you wish it meant something to me too? And then she kisses him.
Whoa, in the
bathroom.
This is
so much manipulation.
So much angst. And so then it escalates, and they start to have sex in the bathroom.
Classic bathroom sex.
And Blair kind of like makes asks him to kind of insult her during it. Like, she's clearly working through some shit. And then she comes and then she starts crying. Oh. And it's just this very thing, and he's like comforting her, and he's like, I don't know what to do. Are you okay?
You insulted me, kissed me, fucked me, and you're crying.
Yeah. And he's like,
here.
what do you need? And he's like kind of kisses her and is like stroking her hair. And she's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. I just don't know. And he goes, I know I said it last time and it didn't go well, but we can leave. Like, I will help you leave. What do you need? We can run away together. And she goes, okay, let's do it. Let's run away together.
Oh, God.
And
is
he's
this
like,
still flashback?
This is still flashback. And he runs out to go get her coat from the coat check. And as he's on his way back holding her coat, he sees her leave the bathroom, hair put back together, looking normal, tears wiped, goes right back to Chuck, puts her arm around him, and pretends nothing happened. And Chuck goes, Humphrey, why are you holding my wife's coat? Ooh. And he goes, oh, she said she wanted it, and like gives it back to her, and then is like, fuck, and then goes back to his wife. And now we're back in
real time,
COVID time.
She's just left Chuck.
And so she invites Dan to watch a movie, but not in person. It's like virtual, watching a movie together and like being on the phone. And she falls asleep almost immediately. But they just kind of like start doing that regularly, where they're starting to like watch movies together, starting to talk on the phone. Mm-hmm. Dan learns that she has gone back to get her master's degree and is kind of trying to like get her life back together post Chuck. And she kind of breaks down a couple times. It's like, I don't know who I am without him. Like, I'm nothing. Like, I've been with him for so long. I don't know what I'm doing. And he's kind of her shoulder to cry on in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And she calls him one morning and goes, I'm about to do something absolutely unforgivable to the father of my child. Like, I don't know who I am without him. I don't know if this is the right thing. And Dan assumes that it's like the divorce proceedings are, this is the day. And he kind of just reassures her and is like, you are not stupid. You are not making the wrong choice. You are doing what's best for you and for your baby. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay. And then she calls him back like an hour later and is like, it's done.
He's dead.
And he doesn't know what it is.
He assumes it's the divorce.
Okay.
But then the next day, news breaks that Chuck has been arrested for sexual assault, domestic violence, sex trafficking, manslaughter, and tax fraud.
Manslaughter. Oh, and tax fraud.
Hold on. Sex trafficking.
Hold on. Tax fraud.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So Blair has dropped the receipts, essentially.
Wow.
Yes.
Which, very in character for Blair. Blair would keep the receipts.
Do love that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so Dan is like, wow, holy shit. Okay. Got it. And after that, he doesn't hear from Blair for a week. And then she texts him, hey, by the way, I told Serena that we slept together while we were still married, so have fun with that.
Oh, good.
And he calls Serena, and she goes, yeah,
I figured it out.
I kind of figured it genuinely doesn't matter to me anymore.
We're not together.
Yeah. She goes, honestly, it's kind of nice to have my suspicions confirmed, but you know Blair, she's in self-sabotage mode. She's going scorched earth, just, and you know what that's like. And Dan goes, yep, thank you for being such a good friend. And she goes, no problem.
Yeah, she's like,
take care of yourself.
Real good in this.
She's coming out smelling like roses in this fanfic, I gotta say.
Yeah, she's just the chill friend. She's the chill ex. And after they hang up, Dan texts Blair that he and Serena talked, and Blair calls and is being passive aggressive. Is like, oh, you guys talk? Like, are you gonna get back together? Like, just like old times? Da 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 da.
I have friends who are that person. Mm-hmm. Where I'm like, bitch, shut up.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And she says, well, it was always about, you and Serena. And Dan goes, well, it was always about you and Chuck, but I hope the charges stick. Like, what are you doing? And he kind of puts her in her place a little bit and is like, you can't just, I know you're hurting, but you can't take it out on me like this.
Yeah.
And they keep kind of, after that, they just get back to what they were doing, where they're talking all the time. And every day Blair seems to get back on her feet and like expanding the blog, and she kind of graduates from, she like finishes some of her virtual classes and stuff like that. And Dan the whole time is kind of waiting for her to cast him aside again and pretend that whatever they had didn't matter. He's waiting for her to kind of friend break up with him.
Okay.
He's waiting for a green light, as it were, either way.
Yeah.
And he's like really in his head one day, because also he's been alone this entire time. It is still COVID.
Yeah.
And Blair texts him being like, oh, what movie do you want to watch tonight? And he's really short with her. And she calls him and she's like, what the fuck is wrong? What's going on? And he kind of is very morose. And she goes, oh, okay, you're lonely and sad. And he goes, yeah, obviously. She goes, okay, meet me at this park in 30 minutes. And so they have a little park date.
PD park
date. Little COVID park date with her and Henry, and he brings his dog, and he finds out that she's not living in Manhattan anymore. She's actually in Brooklyn, where he is.
Oh my god!
And
she debased herself to the
to
level
live in
of
Brooklyn.
In a loft, maybe.
Well, and she says it's
Exposed
because the chances of running into Chuck in Manhattan were way higher.
Sure.
She's like, Chuck wouldn't ever dare come to Brooklyn. Like, he thinks Brooklyn is below him.
And Dan goes, but would you like to come
To
Brooklyn?
But Blair at the end of it kind of looks him up and down and goes, you're just so sad and so pathetic, and I guess if you want, you can be part of me and Henry's pod. And like, if you want to like be in our COVID pod, and you know, just, you have to be safe about it, but if you want to hang out more in person, we can do that, I guess. But Dan becomes part of the pod, as it were, and they kind of, now that he is over there or she is at his place almost every day, and they're kind of very,
what else are they gonna do?
right, exactly. And they're kind of like getting into this more domestic routine where like he cooks dinner and she puts Henry to bed and all of this stuff. And they start, one night they like drink and play truth or truth, because neither of them want to bother doing dare. They're like, I'm tired, let's just do this.
Wait,
and
what?
ask
Are
each
we
other
just gonna-
questions.
Done that
If we
before.
play dare, we're just gonna ask each other to do sex stuff. Like,
Drinking
come
truth
on.
or truth, it's just like a date to me. It
Yeah.
just sounds like,
They
like
just-
a third date.
that's
We're gonna
their
take
excuse
turns
to date
drinking.
each other.
We're gonna ask each other questions about our past and drink booze. That's,
And like during this time, while they're drinking and whatever, and they start talking about the novel he published after he divorced Serena. So after that, he kind of he published something about being in love and relationships and whatever, and he says, yeah, some of it was based on our relationship. Like, I know we were only together for 3 months, but it was really significant to me, and that might have been stupid of me, but I kind of blew it up in my head, and I really cared about you, but that, in saying it out loud now it feels kind of embarrassing to say that. And Blair says, no, like I know that I said some things, but it was really significant to me too. Like, please don't downplay our relationship.
Yeah.
Like, you were one of 2 people that I have been with as an adult, and it meant something to me. And like, and I can't believe you don't say that again. Like, it upsets me that you think it doesn't mean anything. Whereas when I was reading it, I was like, yeah, you literally told him that it didn't mean anything. So like, don't blame him for taking you at your word, but whatever, Blair. And so she starts talking about like, yeah, and I remember one time Serena kind of caught us kissing right after we got together, and I felt like this kind of triumphant, you know, I got him and he's not yours anymore thing, and that really scared me, and I didn't like that, but I feel like that was a lot of our relationship, was me feeling like I finally was being picked over Serena. After, when we were kids and everything, Serena was always the one that got picked first. She was always the pretty blonde one and everything. And Dan says, for the record, I would pick you first every time.
Aww.
And
cute.
he kisses her, but then Henry wanders in because he had a bad dream.
Henry cockblock extraordinaire. This is why you don't have kids.
oh, so Henry's her
kid.
Yes, got it.
Her kid.
Great.
Yeah.
I don't know. Earlier,
Henry's
you
the
were like,
butler.
they went on a date to the park, and she brought Henry so he could play. I was like, that's her dog.
Yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah, it's just a child.
Kids are
the
like
child
dogs.
does not have any lines. All Henry does is cockblock them in this moment, and that's kind of it.
Got
Got it. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So they kind of, after that happens, they're back to being weird domestic friends. And the Paris Review wants to publish Dan's story that he wrote about being in love with a girl who wouldn't love him back with the sexy lace tights. And he really wants to publish it because he's proud of it, but he sends it to Blair and says, this is very much based on you, and I'd like your consent to publish
Good
this.
for you, Dan.
Nice.
Dan is a good boy. And 3 days later, she shows up at his place. She goes radio silent after that for 3 days. And he is immediately self-conscious because he wasn't expecting her, and it's really messy. And because usually before they come over, he like deep cleans the apartment.
Yeah.
And he learns from her that Elle magazine wants to buy Poison Pen from her, and she's really happy. And Dan hugs her and congratulates her, and she kind of is like, yeah, and I want to talk to you about the other thing, but also your hair looks insane. Let me cut it and we can talk about the other thing.
Hey, we need to talk, but first that hair. Let's cut it.
Let's deal with it. And so she's and he kind of is like, oh, it's because she doesn't want to, like, she's nervous. She doesn't want to look at me face to face. This is something she can do. And so they're sitting in his bathroom and she's cutting his hair, and she's like, I read the story.
It took me 3 days.
Yeah.
Well, she was busy.
She was busy. She was like, I read the story. It did upset me because it was basically 8,000 words about me leading you on and then leaving you for Chuck. And you kind of reduced my abusive marriage to being about you and how you felt about it. And that wasn't great for me. So I want to let you know that, but also make that money, publish the thing. You know,
this is the best communication she's had.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she shows some mature communication.
I love that.
Okay. But yeah, she's like, it's COVID. You don't have to say, like, publish your thing, but I want you to know that it didn't feel good reading it, and I didn't like the way that I didn't like the way that I came across in that story.
I didn't read that and was like, wow, this is so romantic of him.
It's all about me.
Yeah, I think I wrote it down. Oh yeah, as long as you know it's all simplified garbage, you can go ahead and publish it.
Yes, good.
Don't think like me saying publish it is like, this is how I feel and this is accurate. Like, fuck that shit.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. And she kind of goes, okay, your hair is done. And he's like, oh, it just looks all right. But he secretly loves it and is like, she cut my hair.
What? Tell her that. What is
the best thing I've ever.
What is that?
No, the good communication's over now.
Yeah, it's over.
Haircut's over. They can't talk.
Correct.
But it kind of like, he's kind of joking. He's like, it's all right. It's fine.
Sure,
and he kind of, they're like laughing, and he laughs, and she kind of stops and is like, Dan Humphrey, you look beautiful right now. You look lovely right now.
Wow.
And he kisses her, and they quickly realize he goes, my bathroom is too dirty. I haven't cleaned it in 2 weeks. We need to leave the bathroom because they're about to like fuck. And he's like, I'm too self-conscious about how gross this is.
I've done that before.
Yeah,
which I really appreciated how relatable that was. And then they're making out, and they go to the bedroom, and it's lovely, and they're having a really good time. And Dan is kind of remembering how good they were at this, and he's just remembering what it was like before, and that they kind of, you know, had fun together. And she kind of has to stop him for a breather at one point because she goes, I haven't done this in a while, and the last time I did it was with Chuck, and he was shitty, and I just need a second. And so they kind of stop, and they talk in bed for a while. And then they get back to it, which I also appreciated.
Love some healthy modeling of like,
yes,
hey, we're gonna work through this.
We're gonna work through this
together. Like, it's okay. We'll stop. We can talk about it. We can not talk about it. We can do something else.
Yep. Yeah. And so they have like that moment, and they kind of chat, and then they she kisses him, and they have excellent sex, and she tells him that while she's on top, she tells him that he's being very good and doing a very good job, so he is allowed to touch her. And I really appreciated that role reversal, because I feel like in most of the fics I read, the man is the one doing that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, Blair. Dan like kind of is like, yeah, I thought about this all the time. This is amazing. And Blair is like, tell me all the things that you thought about. And so that's kind of like their dirty talk during. And then afterwards, they're kind of laying in bed and they tell each other that they love each other.
Oh.
And then the last chapter is just a little epilogue where Blair comes clean to the readers of Poison Pen as to her identity because it has been sold to Elle magazine.
Right.
And so she's like, and her divorce from Chuck is final. So she's like, yep, I can own this now. I can make this my thing. I can work for Elle. And Dan is talking to Serena and she goes, by the way, I hung out with Blair and she seemed really happy. So good job, Humphrey. But what will you do without someone to pine over? What's going to happen? Like, what are you going to do with all that
And
brain
that's how
space?
you started.
Yeah. And Dan goes, well, I just have to write about it. And so he gets back to writing again. And then at the very end of it is it's 2020. The election results are finally announced. People are in the streets celebrating.
Yeah.
And Blair cries and says, it's finally over. It's all over. I can move on now. And they fall into their domestic life together. And Dan writes.
Hey.
And that's the end of the story.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. And my game is thinking back to pandemic life. If you could pick, I wrote like up to 3, but it could be one person if you want. But if you could pick any character from like a movie, a book, a TV show for your pod, your COVID pod, who would you pick?
And it doesn't have to be like sexual. It's literally just the pod.
No, just like who would you want to be in quarantine with?
Just one character from any show.
I think like 1 to 3. Like, you know, some folks.
Yeah.
My immediate thought was like really anyone from Ted Lasso.
Yeah,
But like,
I mean, that's...
But like specifically like I think like Keely, Roy, and Ted maybe would be my 3 if I had to go with those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think someone like Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec because she would always, she'd like want to do things and be like very
She would plan activities.
productive and have activities, but she'd also be like, let's just eat waffles and hang out. Like, but you know, she'd be a good partner for when you feel lazy kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good. I'm gonna throw Schmidt from New Girl in my pod.
Oh my God.
For similar reasons of like he'd always have something to do, but also
Yeah.
he'll clean up.
Yeah.
I feel like March to April 2020 Schmidt would be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then once he got into it, it would be a good.
It'd be fun.
It'd be a good pairing.
Once
But he'd
you're
probably
in there.
freak out for a while.
Yeah. Actually, just give me Schmidt, Nick, and Winston. Like I'll
Give
I'll take
all
the
the
boy. Give me the
boys.
boy.
You'll be Jess Day,
But
in this
not
scenario.
Coach.
I guess I'll be coach in this scenario. Like, no.
That would be a
fun.
good crew. Yeah.
That'd be a good crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any others, Emily?
Ones that I think I'm kind of drifting towards are like the upbeat, very positive, optimistic ones because I'll know I can be quite optimistic, but I can also be like, everyone shut up and I just want to be alone for 2 days. So
You don't
I
want
need-
anyone too angsty.
I need the balance of someone like more happy because I know I'll be the angsty one.
That is Conversations on Aesthetics
Yay.
from the Gossip Girl fandom.
That was really good, Jess.
Yeah. Any thoughts?
Thoughts, feelings, and
absolutely.
ratings.
Okay, all right. We're gonna start off with Emily's
Off limits.
Yes.
Off Limits. Yes, I think when it comes down to it, really great starting drama. I love like just off the bat, drama is happening. It's messy. It's high stakes. Great. The female camaraderie, love that like that portion of it. Like that's you mentioned that being like a big part of the song for you, so I'm like hell yeah, I love to see that. So mature communication like kind of throughout. Like I was really appreciative. I was like, oh, I love it. Some characters that like can communicate but still have like issues to like overcome that aren't rooted in like the fact that they can't talk to each other. I will say as much as I was like, oh cool, yeah, they like the bot, like they're talking to each other, like they're talking about what they need and stuff. The fact that immediately like one of them saw each other naked and the solution was the friends
I know.
let them see you naked and it worked and it was like yeah, great, that's good. I was like, that was like the one downside for me. I was like, really? All right, your solution to this is the friends thing, except this time it works.
I saw yours. You can see mine. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand why you're so
Equal
upset about
opportunity.
They've just been doing such a good job of communicating about things that have happened up until that point, and then this thing happens, which is like the most like creeping up on that line. That they like they're not together. They haven't decided to be together at that
Yeah.
point. They're just like boss and employee, and like saw your tits, and instead the solution is you can look at my dick. I'm like, what? What happened to all that communication you just had? But you know,
body communication.
Yeah.
sure, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, once they got to the body communication, I was like, yes, okay, now I'm
Yeah.
on board. Absolutely, this is great. Yeah, so I'm gonna give it 4 out of 5 trash cans.
Sweet.
Four out of 5.
Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Into it.
I'm gonna go 3 out of 5.
Because it didn't fit the trope?
No, they both fit the trope great. This was neither of these were about fitting the trope. It was just about my personal preferences for the stories and like
Healthy communication.
Yeah, healthy communication. Wow, really goes a long
Every
way
episode.
with me. We're
Right.
really,
We get back to it every episode.
Is it weird? Like, can you tell something about my personal life? But no, I like the trope of like he's the wrong one for you, and I see that, like I do like that, like that's a fun trope. And then it just kind of like, but then everyone was in the wrong, like nobody was in the right in this story except for like Serena. Serena was great.
Serena was a very supportive
actually
friend.
an adult, which I appreciated. Everybody else was like a shitheel. Like Dan
shitheel.
was you were not in the right, my guy. Like this woman is married and going through an abusive marriage, and also give her time to heal on her own before being like, but I'm here, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that
like,
character is very much like that. Like Dan is very much like,
yes.
can be your hero, and she's like, shut up.
Yep.
I will let you know when I need a
Dan
hero.
was the nice guy
Yeah.
that learned that was shit throughout the course of the show, and then Blair was the mean girl who maybe like softened over the course of the show.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's true to their characters, sure, and like I don't know these characters, so
Yeah, fair.
it's probably a part of it. But like, yeah, Chuck was a fucking cuck. Get out of here.
Oh yeah, Chuck sucks.
He was bad. But then like I also hate like there was a lot of assumptions that happened in this of the like when Chuck was getting jealous because they were talking at the party. It's like, it's because you want to be together. And I'm like, I hate when that I get that trope. I hate when that happens because like people can have friends, but then I also hate when it's like, well, it turns out they were right.
I know, but it's
kind
so,
of justified in that
but
suspicion.
It's so she thinks you love the beach. She's such a damn. You're such
It
a
is.
damn
Oh
liar.
no, it fits very well, which is why like again I've like for matching the assignment 5 out of 5 for both of you. You both crushed it. For just my personal taste in like what I'm looking for to when I want to get like smutted up a little bit. This one just annoyed me a little bit too much.
Yeah.
Just like there was a lot of
a
meta fan fiction. Really? I'm like, okay. Okay. But I will say Dan finally standing up for himself and telling Blair like, hey, you can't be that mean to me. Like I was like, great, cool. Serena was really cool. And then finally Blair got to have the best haircut ever. And who knew all that extra hair getting in the way of their communication?
Yeah. That was the only thing. That was all.
Lose some hair,
His
gain some
head
confidence.
Too heavy to talk. But
his hair was in his eyes.
Yeah. So I for those reasons I'm giving it a 3 out of 5. Just,
I understand.
I mean, and honestly, probably too. Like if I was in it and like reading it myself, I'd be in the moment with the characters. Instead, I'm just hearing like a bulleted list of the ways they're shitty to each other.
Oh
like,
yeah. I mean, most of the fic was them being shitty to each other until they weren't.
Right.
Which is, I think, how a lot of the Gossip Girl pairings are.
I see that.
And I think maybe just because I also have had my experiences with emotionally manipulative and abusive relationships in the past. So just
a little
kinda,
close to home.
A little personally for me, I'm like, this isn't hot. You're in trouble. Run.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely.
You know, different strokes for different folks. So I all in all, there were parts that I did really like. So 3 out of 5.
Cool.
Nice.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
Was there anything that we mentioned this time around that you want to explore next time?
All right. You mentioned the Vegas runaway wedding, the eloping.
I could just read the second book.
I mean, I have I have a good fic for that one.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
For Vegas elope, does that mean is it specifically in Vegas? Is it specifically drunken marriage? What does that mean? Or is it what are your thoughts?
Ooh. I mean, I feel like
because it could go either way. It could be both.
Specifically Vegas, I don't know that it needs to be that. I think the idea of like oh, this was a mistake.
Waking up the next morning. Yes, okay.
That trope of like,
that one then.
what did we do? And then you gotta,
Because there are some, because like there are some books that come to mind where it's like they go to Vegas and they surprise their friends with getting married.
No,
right.
but
that's not.
This is different.
Yeah,
I
like
understand.
piecing it together the next morning.
This is the Hangover. This is.
Oh, I've got a handful that I could pick from, so we're
me
good
too.
in that.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Let's do a quick. What are you reading?
I just finished.
Hold on, wait. Can I ask you correctly?
Yes.
Hey, Jessica.
What are you in?
I just finished a book called. I want to make sure I get the author's name right. Hold on.
It's okay. I wrote mine down too because
Yeah.
I was like, I read a real book.
I know. I just finished. Oh no, it was auto. I listened to it. Hold on. I just want to make sure I say it right because I want to give him credit. I just finished listening to, but you know, it's the same thing. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, which was a relatively quick read, but was really, really, really good. And I highly recommend it. It is a bride, the first, she thinks, bride of Dracula, writing about her experience of it. It's basically a breakup novel. She won't refer to him by his name. It's just you, and it's about her like being turned, and then her relationship with him, and then how their relationship evolves over hundreds and hundreds of years. And specifically like what happens when he starts to bring in other brides as well. It was really good. I finished it in like an evening.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow.
So if you want like dark gothic vampire, poly bisexual heroine person,
It hits all those.
from like a first person perspective, it is all of those things and more, and it was delightful, and I highly recommend it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hey, Will.
Oh, me. Wow. I'm about 3/4 of the way through Rhythm of War, which is I should have finished it by now if I was keeping up with our track record.
Yeah.
But I know I've slowed down a little
Is
bit.
this the fourth one?
This is the fourth one, and I think the it's not out yet, but I think he has said that maybe the fifth one will be the last one of this.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Of this arc of the series.
Got it.
Like he's done this before where he'll revisit a world with like a different story, like disconnected in time, but like as the same setting kind of thing. So he might end up doing something like that, but I think he said that the fifth book will probably be the last one of this cycle of the Stormlight Archive.
How are you enjoying this one compared to the previous ones?
I'm really liking it.
Yeah.
It's held my attention throughout, and I think a part of it is that I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again right now. His world building is just so good. There's so much that is left that he teases at, but it's just like I'm like I want to understand. I gotta know. Like we're doing a pretty good job now. You know, in the fourth book, exploring the mechanics that during the first book were the like, oh, what is this? Like, what does it mean? Those are pretty well fleshed out at this point. But it is kind of like there's this like undercurrent of like, oh, those are actually just like a piece of this other thing that you don't even know about. And I'm like, well, now I want to know.
It's like a deepening.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's very well done too. It's not, because I think when you do that too, you run the risk of at the beginning being like, I know nothing. There's so much.
Overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. Instead, he's done a really good job of kind of parceling it out. And as soon as you're like, oh, now I have a grasp on everything, it's like,
But what about this?
But what about this? I'm like, oh, what about that?
Yeah.
So I'm really
Awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. So
Cool.
yeah.
Hey, Emily.
Yeah, what's up?
What are you in?
Glad you asked. I just finished a book called The Appeal by Janice Hallett.
Okay.
And it's a murder mystery. And it's about a theater group in England. And one of the people dies. And it's all told in emails and notes. And which I love. I think I've mentioned it before, how much I love like Meg Cabot type, like journal entry, email messaging type of books. So this is all that. It was a little like confusing at first because I was reading on my Kindle, so I can't go back and see. But there's a bunch of characters. But it's really interesting because I thought it's from the perspective of the two law assistants are reading through everything in order to prepare for a case. And so you don't fully know who it is.
So you're like learning about it as they're learning about it.
Yes, because they're also trying to figure out who it is because they are preparing for the case, they have to actually serve the person though. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's cool because you're like, oh, I see this. I see everything that they're doing. So I really liked it. Really good. I think she has another one that just came out. I think it's the same style. So I love a good murder mystery.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, we done it.
We did.
We
We
did
did.
it.
We sure
We
did do
done
it.
it.
We green light to do it.
We have the green
Yeah.
light to keep going forward.
That's right. Fem's Reading Filth just got greenlit for the second half of season 2.
Yay!
So I mean, the last like 3 episodes
Yeah,
of season 2.
exactly.
But join us next time for
Vegas, baby.
I was about to go. What are we doing?
Vegas.
Eloping.
Drunken Vegas wedding night.
The morning after.
The morning after.
We'll
the
think
hangover.
of a more concise
The hangover, but
part 2.
sexier.
The sexy hangover.
The sexy hangover.
Sexy
there
hangover.
it is.
Yeah, the Wedlockian hangover.
Bye. Fem's Reading Filth is hosted, produced, and edited by Emily Barusian and Jessica Mall. Intro music by Tom Lehrer. Outro music by David Reddick. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Fem's Reading Filth. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.